The Appropriations Committee. I do not see anyone here for House Bill 130. Is there anyone in the room for House Bill 130?
Roll call.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay.
Childress. I'm in a hurry, so we'll do roll call before we get going. Go ahead, Ms. Childress.
Okay. Representative Alaman? Representative Angelos?
Here.
Representative Haroldson?
Excused?
Representative Pendergraft?
Here.
Representative Sherwood?
Here.
Representative Smith?
Here.
Chairman Bear?
Here.
Mr. Chairman, you have a quorum.
Thank you very much. We'll begin this meeting now. So is there anyone in the room for House Bill 130? I'm just going to lay out some ground rules real quickly for today's meeting. It's going to be a little different than what we normally do. We have 3 referrals and 4 bills. These 3 referrals, we will take testimony at 1 minute per person, 1 minute per person. These bills have been heard in another committee. We're just dealing mostly with the financial side of them on a re-referral. So we'll do that beginning here with House Bill 130. The other re-referrals will be interspersed, but we will complete all of the re-referrals before we adjourn this meeting. Again, the re-referrals will be limited to 1 minute for testimony, and the regular bills, of which we have 4 on the docket, will allow for 2 minutes of testimony. So we're going to really get going. And if toward the end we have a little more time, we'll expand that time up for testimony on the latter bills. With that, we'll begin with House Bill 130. Seeing no one here for that right now, I'll go ahead and present the bill to the committee. Ladies and gentlemen, this is a bill that's been brought by our majority floor leader. It is a tax relief bill on property tax, and it is a novel approach. Originally, the bill was using the energy matching funds from the governor's office and capturing all of those. I think it was about $176 million. You can see that on the footnote under FY 2025. And then it was using those funds to provide a tax exemption for homeowners. And there is an amendment that was brought by the original committee. You can see that on the last page. What this amendment does is it limits it in the first year to a more general group of just residential homes. And then in the second year, when data can be collected by the department, it applies to primary residence. That data of confirming that its primary residence is not available in the first year. So that's what the adjustments in page 1, line 4, and page 2, line 4 as well. And then as we go through the bill, it's a limit of the first $400,000, if I recall from memory. And then the cost of the bill is $83 million per year in 26 and 27. You can see that on the fiscal note. With the committee amendment, that changes to $110 million in the first year, 2026, and remains $83 million in the second year. So that difference between $83 million and $110 million has to do with the limitation of it applying only to primary residents in the second year. Are there any questions on the bill? There also is no controlling language. We haven't got any controlling language in any of our tax relief bills. So in the end, some work will have to be done by JCCs to determine which bills will actually make it out. All right, with no further questions, what's the committee's pleasure? And I'll close public testimony on House Bill 130. Moved by Alaman, seconded by Smith. Page 1, page 2, page 3, page 4, page 5, page 6, page 7. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Ms. Childress, will you please take the roll call?
Roll call vote, House Bill 130 do pass. Representative Alaman?
Aye.
Representative Angelos?
Aye.
Representative Haroldson?
Aye.
Representative Pendergraft?
Aye.
Representative Sherwood?
No.
Representative Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6 aye, 1 no.
Okay, that's recommend do pass from this committee, and that will be taken to the floor and managed by the majority floor leader. All right, now moving on to House Bill 190. Representative Lean, would you please come forward and present House Bill 190 to the committee? And please be brief. We'll allow testimony to anybody who's here to testify on this bill at 2-minute increments.
Thank you,
Please
Mr.
proceed.
Chairman. What I have before you today is House Bill 190. It clears up the bond language. This is also known as the spec tax. And so what I want to do today, in the essence of time, I'm going to forego the intro, is just add a portion in here where the Secretary of State oversees the bonding language. And then on lines 21 and 22, it says in a true and impartial manner, so that when this goes before the voters, you don't get adjectives to pull on the heartstrings for funds that they're asking for with tax. One example from Natrona County's ballot in 2024, it says $7,300,000 and interest earned thereon to the city of Casper to reconstruct the aging, failing, and undersized Metro Animal Shelter to better provide for animal health and safety. In my opinion, this should just say, we want this amount of money for this much. There should be no adjectives in here. Versus one other item that was also on that ballot, $4 million in interest earned thereon to the city of Casper to construct 2 fast-pitch softball fields for league competition and high school use. As you can see, there's a staunch difference between the two. There was 7 ballot measures altogether, 7 ballot measures altogether. The ones that passed all had adjectives in them, and I have them all here. If you want me to read them to you, I will. But at the end of the day, I'm asking for this bill to come forward. I did speak with the Secretary of State's office. They are able to oversee this. It should not be an impending extra person on their books. The amount of work should be very minimal. And today, I'm asking you to help me cut off those heartstrings on the spec tax so that it's just true and impartial matter. Thank you.
Thank you for being brief. Is there any questions for the bringer? Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chair, and to the bringer of the bill. Had you considered, instead of using the phrase "in a true and impartial manner," which I kind of was like, I'm not sure what that meant until you testified today, and instead of using that, just saying without using adjectives? That seems to add some clarity to the intention.
Representative Lean.
I had not, or Mr. Chairman, Representative Sherwood, I had not put in there with no adjectives. A true and impartial manner to me means that the language is true and concise, and it cuts straight to the point.
Follow up? Nope, seeing none. Any other questions for the bringer? Seeing none, thank you. Are there any public comments from the agency, please? And I believe we have the secretary online. If you could go ahead and bring him on, we'll get right into him quickly on this bill.
Mr. Chairman, just Mr. Rubino is online.
Okay,
The
that'll be fine.
secretary is not.
I'm sorry, I
Okay.
misread that. So yeah, let's go ahead and bring him up and we'll get both
Okay.
of these handled real quickly. Okay, go ahead, Mr. Neiman, sorry.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Jesse Naiman with the Secretary of State's office, joined by Mr. Rubino, the Chief Policy Officer. Secretary Gray stands in full support of this bill. Just to echo what Representative Lean said, we can implement this. All we do is be reviewing bond questions to strike language that is biased. There would be no additional positions or no additional funding would be needed to perform these tasks. With that, we stand for questions.
Mr. Neiman, you've heard Representative Sherwood's suggestion. Do you have any heartburn with that?
Mr. Chairman, that would be a policy question up to this body to ultimately decide. This language, we did find a similar provision in the election code. That's the origin of the true and impartial manner language. It's in 22-24-319, I believe, is where we originally found it. But we can certainly discuss that.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Neiman? All right. Seeing none, we'll go on to Mr. Rubino. Mr. Rubino, welcome to House Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I apologize for being remote today. I don't have much to add beyond what our deputy had to say. I think he did a good job, and I think the sponsor did a very good job of walking through it very briefly. Specific to Representative Sherwood's amendment, I think that it's probably better to keep it as is. I think, there's a reason that the drafters of this pulled, I believe, from our existing statutory requirements for a true and impartial manner with ballot initiatives, and it's really the same concept. What it's supposed to do is it's supposed to be impartial and say that so that there is no, whether it's an adjective or a phrasing or anything like that, it's not just an adjective. So I guess I would caution the committee to amend it just for that. I think that's one of the bright lines and one of the examples that we saw, certainly that was brought to our attention from the Natrona County ballot with a handful of the 7 ballot proposition bond issues that you had in Natrona County. And I believe that I gave those handouts to Ms. Childress at the last meeting when I was going to be there. And so you should have some of those on there. But yeah, I think that the way it is probably there in the statutes, and the way that it's copied is for a reason.
Thank you very much. Any questions for Mr. Rubino? Seeing none, we appreciate your being here. Now we're opening it for public comment from legislators. Would any of the 3 legislators in the room care to opine on this bill? Okay, seeing none, is any public? All right, Mr. Schwartz, please come forward. Thank you for being here. Welcome to, I know, your favorite committee, House Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. Andy Schwartz, representing the town of Jackson. I'm partially here just because I haven't been in this room for over a week, and it's kind of been hard on my soul. This bill will not apply to my community. I can't remember the last time we actually did a bond election. We use sales tax for our revenues, but I have a certain concern about how this can potentially take away expediting the timing on it. I just worry that it is adding one more step to the process of doing a bond election. I'm not too concerned. I mean, I don't think we have ever used language that was biased, but even though true and partial is used elsewhere in the statutes, I always worry about subjectivity coming in reviewing. For instance, the good Representative Sherwood suggested saying adjectives. Adjectives take many forms, and some of them are not biased. They are merely descriptive, which can be valuable in a bond, in describing how a bond would work. And I would generally say I am in favor of local control, and I do not see the benefit of adding this level of review, and I stand for any questions.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. Any questions for Mr. Schwartz? Seeing none, I'm going to tell you I have one. I want you to answer this as quickly as possible. We have an example here from the bringer that uses the words outdated and obsolete, much needed, aging, failing, and undersized. Are those impartial? Yes or no?
Mr. Chairman, I would say some of them, there's a number of adjectives. I didn't catch them all, but I will concede the point. I might argue about 1 or 2 of them, but I will concede the point. I have never seen language like that in my community.
Thank you, Mr. Schwartz. I would agree. My community, I don't think I've seen anything quite that egregious, but I appreciate your responding.
Thank you.
All right. Thank you for being here. Any further public comment for House Bill 190? Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure? Move to pass. Sorry, move to pass by Vice Chair Pendergraft, seconded by Smith. We'll start with page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Any discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Ms. Childress, would you please take the roll?
Roll call vote, House Bill 190 do pass. Representative Allemand? Aye. Representative Angelos? Aye. Representative Haroldson? Aye. Representative Pendergraft?
Aye.
Representative Sherwood?
No.
Representative Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6 aye, 1 no.
All right, 190 do pass. Representative Lean, we'll have you House manage that on the floor, all right? Thank you very much. And next is House Bill 341. Representative Larson, please come forward. If you could give us a brief description of the bill and really get into the financial side of it, most of all, that's what we're most interested in, but please help us to understand it.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Larson, House District 54. I'm joined with Director Corn Smith from the Department of Family Services, who would be tasked with the administration of this bill. I'll turn the explanation on the funding request to her and just highlight that the intent of this bill is to be able to apply for and participate in a summer nutrition program for children to provide, what do we call them, EBT cards for supplemental nutrition needs during the summer. And with that, Mr. Chairman, I'll let her talk about the request.
Thank you, Representative Larson. Ms. Cornsmith, please.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Corin Schmidt. I'm the Director of the Wyoming Department of Family Services. The request before you today is for federal fund authority and state general fund match. The request comes to a total of $2.28 million, of which half of that would be federal dollars, half would be general fund. The proposed budget for spending those dollars comes mostly for IT and program support for this program. This program will require us to set up a system, and we will need the general fund to get the federal fund match for that system. Some of it includes temporary staff to get the program set up, in addition to an at-will employment contract that might be a little bit more ongoing. This first request is one time, then in the bill it says that we will come back and request more if necessary.
Okay. Questions for either the bringer or the department head? Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and Director. So what need does this fill that we are not already addressing? So thinking about using general funds, federal funds, what service then does that allocation allow us to provide?
Mr. Chairman, Representative Sherwood, this is a summer feeding program for children. Most of the food programs that are offered to children are offered during the school year, or they are offered at specific sites during the summer. This allows for the assignment or providing food benefits to children at $40 a month through the course of the summer so that they may purchase food when school is not in session. It's also for all children, not just children who attend public school. It's for any child who is eligible for free or reduced lunches.
Comment you made there was that the children was what I understood would be able to purchase the food. Is that how this is anticipated to being administered? That there's a card, obviously. I assume it would go to the parents. I mean, is that how this operates? And then secondly, you mentioned that this would expand. What, I don't recall if we have an anticipated future expenditure. If you could just elaborate a little bit on what you mean by it's going to expand in the future.
Mr. Chairman, it's not necessarily expanding, it's ongoing. So the one-time amount that we've requested here is to start up the program. The ongoing amount that we would come back if the program is successful or if it continues to be funded under the new administration would be about $1.4 million, of which half of that would be state general fund, so about $700,000 a year ongoing costs. And that's all estimated at this point.
Thank you for that clarity. Appreciate that. Any further questions? Okay, seeing none, we appreciate your being here and presenting the bill. If you could just stay close for just a moment. Do we have any public comment? We'll open this up for public comment. Seeing none, and Ms. Childress, do we have anyone online for this bill? Seeing none, okay. We'll go ahead and close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure? The bill do pass, seconded by Harrelson. All right, let's work the bill. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Page 6. Any discussion on the bill? right, I've asked the committee to be brief today and avoid speeches, but I'm going to give a quick comment here. I always have concerns about programs that kind of, in my opinion, get in between the parents and the child as far as parental responsibility. Not saying that this does that, but we do sometimes create programs that allow parents to be less responsible. So I'm very cautious about going down this path. One of the complaints that I hear from teachers more often than not is what they would like to see to be more effective at their job is to be able to have more parental involvement. I fear that this kind of program is counterproductive to that. And having said that, now I'll open it back up to my committee. Are there any comments from members of the committee? Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I look at the entire state budget and say there may be a lot of places to begin to cut or to pull back. This isn't the first place where I would start to pull back.
Representative Haroldson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I definitely hear your sentiment, and I don't disagree with your sentiment that it's an issue. I think across the board, as we look at a lot of the issues we're striking and dealing with in the state, parental involvement, or even maybe, sadly enough, maturity might be a thing we're dealing with. But being a part of a backpack program in our community through our ministerial association, I would never would have guessed there would be this many hungry kids in our communities. And I'll be honest with you, it makes me mad. I mean, we live in, not only do we live in America, we live in Wyoming, and we're the greatest state there is, in my opinion, and we got kids that are not getting food. And furthermore, if they are getting food, it's not real food. It doesn't feed their cells. And so I think obviously I love seeing us push putting food into children, and so on and for this.
Okay. Any further comments? All right, seeing none, Representative Larson, please.
Mr. Chairman, just for the benefit of the committee, there was an amendment that I think may have some value in that. Is one of the things that we did talk about is SNAP and some concerns on how that works. And so we asked the department to put in, because there's an application process that would make sure that it complied with SNAP requirements, and amended more to Wyoming particulars. There was one other. Oh, the other part of that was if the program went away, the program goes away. The state isn't under any obligation to continue moving forward with it.
Thank you for that additional comment and clarity. I do see in the amendment, it says shall not be used to purchase soft drinks, so I think that addresses Representative Haroldson's comment there. All right. All right. Seeing no further comments, Ms. Childers, would you please take the roll?
Roll call vote, House Bill 341 do pass. Representative Alaman? Aye. Representative Angelos? Aye. Representative Haroldson?
Aye.
Representative Pendergraft?
Aye.
Representative Sherwood?
Aye.
Representative Smith?
No.
Chairman Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 6 aye, 1 no.
All right. Mr. Chairman? Yeah, that's right on, okay. All right, so House Bill 341 do pass, and Representative Larson, please handle that on the floor. Thank you. All right, now moving on to House Bill 336. Representative Weber, please come forward. Welcome to House Appropriations, the most efficient committee in the House. All right, if you could be brief and present your bill, House Bill 336, Waiver of Parental Rights, Financial Responsibility.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. What this bill does is that it protects the rights of the parents who want to sign away their parental rights, in the fact that they are made aware of, they're made aware of their financial responsibility for the child, that they may be signing those rights away. So it ensures informed consents for fathers and mothers that when they relinquish their parental rights, they're fully aware and understand that this does not eliminate their financial obligations for child support. The requirement for a signed acknowledgement will prevent fathers from being misled or mothers being misled in making decisions without understanding the full scope of their responsibilities. It also protects these parents who want to give up their rights from any misunderstandings. Some of the parents may be advised by legal counsel or others to sign a voluntary relinquishment of parental rights and mistakenly believe that this also will end their child support obligation. This bill ensures that all individuals who wish to terminate their rights are clearly informed and remain clearly informed in writing that child support responsibilities remain in effect unless modified or terminated by a court order or the child is adopted. This also prevents legal surprises. Without clear written acknowledgement, many fathers and mothers end up surprised when child support enforcement program pursues them for payments after they believe they had terminated their responsibilities. The bill ensures that every parent that receives explicit proof in writing that they were informed. It also improves transparency in the legal process. By requiring the acknowledgement of continuing child support obligations be part of the official record, this bill provides greater legal transparency. This also clarifies legal rights and responsibilities. It reinforces the fact that parental rights and financial obligations are separate issues under the law. A parent may choose to relinquish the rights, but their financial responsibilities to the child continues. The bill simply ensures that every parent is aware of this decision. It also upholds parent accountability. This law would strengthen the principles that both parents remain accountable for their child's financial records. What this would also do is prevent exploitation of vulnerable parents. These parents, especially the younger ones or less experienced individuals, may be vulnerable to advice that led them to think that they are relieving themselves of both legal and financial responsibilities by signing a voluntary relinquishment. The bill seeks to prevent exploitation by ensuring that these individuals are presented with clear, unambiguous information before making such a decision. And finally, it ensures that the fair and consistent enforcement, it doesn't change the law. This bill does not change the law, but ensures that the fathers or mothers are fully aware of their continued support obligations, which allow for a more consistent and fair enforcement of child support laws. It ensures that any future child support action is based on an informed decision made by the father or mother, reducing unnecessary legal conflicts. This bill provides for an important safeguard for the parents and helps ensure that they are making decisions with full understanding of their legal and financial responsibilities. It is a necessary step in protecting both of the parents' rights and the type of financial interest of the child or children. Thank you, and I stand for any questions.
Okay, any questions for the bringer? I have one.
Yes,
You
sir.
said that it doesn't change the law, but I do think on page 2, line 5, in paragraph B, which would be new language, we say shall be signed by the parent. I think that's the crux of your bill, isn't it?
Yes, sir, it is.
All right, very good. I like these rifle shots at changing statute to better serve our communities. Any further questions for the bringer? Okay. Thank you very much. We'll just open it up for public comment. Please stay close here. Is there any public comment on this bill? Ms. Childress, anyone online? Representative Filer, would you like to discuss this bill? Okay. All right. Seeing none, we'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure? Okay, move do pass by Haroldson, seconded by Allemand. We'll work the bill, page 1. Page 2. I love this committee. Any comments on the bill? Seeing none, we'll go ahead and take the roll.
Roll call vote, House Bill 336 do pass. Representative Allemand? Aye. Representative Angelos? Aye. Representative Haroldson? Aye. Representative Pendergraft?
Aye.
Representative Sherwood?
Aye.
Representative Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 7 aye.
All right, House Bill 336 do pass. Representative Weber, we'll have you manage that on the floor. And I do believe you have the next bill in line, so please stay put and give us a rundown on House Bill 337, prohibiting foreign funding of ballot measures.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman and committee members. House Bill 337, prohibiting foreign funding and ballot measures. Essentially, this bill requires a disclosure be made to the Secretary of State that groups who are associated for raising, collecting, and spending money to support or oppose legislation which is subject of a statewide ballot initiative or referendum to disclose to the Secretary of State that they have not received funding from a foreign national. Prohibiting foreign nationals from influencing the initiative process is a growing concern around this country and in Wyoming. I think in a lot of ways, this bill just makes sense. In Wyoming, we do not want foreign actors such as China to be meddling in our lawmaking process. And what are we seeing in other states is that foreign actors are getting involved in the initiative process as a way to influence legislation. Needless to say, I don't think we want that here. And so what this bill does is a proactive measure to set up the safeguards. To varying degrees, California, Colorado, Maryland, Nevada, North Dakota, Ohio, South Dakota, and Washington have already prohibited foreign money in ballot initiatives. In response to millions of dollars being poured into the initiative process by foreign donors to reduce penalties for fentanyl possession and initiatives codifying radical abortion laws in Ohio in 2022 and 2024, the Ohio legislature began putting safeguards to prohibit foreign money in the ballot initiative process. As you know, although you'll have groups saying this isn't a Wyoming problem, I think with what we've seen in the context of prohibiting zuck bucks, Wyoming needs to take a proactive measure before we get left behind. I think this bill marks a step toward enacting some of the important safeguards in Wyoming. To require that groups that are organized to support or oppose legislation that is the subject of a ballot initiative process must affirmatively state that the group is not funded by foreign nationals. I'll give a brief walkthrough of the bill. Page 1 contains a description of the bill, which requires that groups who are lobbying for statewide ballot measures and to file a statement with the Secretary of State indicating that they are not influenced by a foreign source. On the bottom of page 1 and onto page 2, this creates a new section, Wyoming Statute 22-24-202, and subsection A defines both foreign national and a prohibited source as used in this section. The bill cross-references to the definition of a foreign national in 52 U.S.C. 30121B, which includes a foreign principal defined as 1, a government of a foreign country and a foreign political party. Number 2, a person outside the United States unless it is established that such a person is an individual and a citizen of the domiciled within the United States, or that such a person is not an individual and is organized under or created by the laws of the United States or any state or other place subject to the jurisdiction of the United States and has a principal place of business within the United States. And number 3, a partnership, association, corporation, organization, or other combination of persons organized under the laws of having its principal place of business in a foreign country. On page 2, following the definition, subsection B states that no foreign national shall direct or indirectly participate in the decision-making of a group required to file with the Secretary of State. At the bottom of page 2 and on to page 3, subsection C specifies the process that any group required to file with the Secretary of State must file an accompanying certificate that expenditures were not funded by prohibited sources like foreign nationals, that the group didn't knowingly receive funds from foreign nationals, and the group affirmatively states that any donor is not a foreign national or received more than $100,000 from a foreign national over the preceding time period. At the bottom of page 3, subsection E outlines that the Secretary of State may bring civil action to assess penalties, including penalties up to twice the amount of any prohibited contribution or expenditure. And on to page 4. This specifies that the effective date is July 1. So in conclusion, I will try to answer any questions, but I think we have people who may be here to testify on this bill, like the Secretary of State's office on Zoom, but I just wanted to say that I think we'd be lying to ourselves if we didn't acknowledge that this is an issue across the United States. And there is a significant interest in ensuring that the lawmaking process, including that related to this initiative process, is supported, not by foreign nationals, but by U.S. citizens. I think this bill is a step in the right direction. Thank you. And with that, I would take any questions.
Okay, any questions for the bringer? Representative Sherwood.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for that explanation and that walkthrough. Could you explain your reasonings for limiting this to just ballot measures? I was kind of surprised that this didn't encompass all of our elections within Wyoming.
Representative Weber.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Committee Member Sherwood. I think it could be amended for that, but I think right now what we're looking at is on the national level for any foreign involvement in that type of finances coming into our state to affect the ballot measures that we want to promote.
Follow up?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I guess when you were drafting the bill, what led you to just start with the ballot measures and not take it further than that?
Representative Weber?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Sherwood. What started with that is the amount of, I guess, the news and things that I've been watching that are influencing how our elections are being done on the, on our state level and on the national level. And I just think it's the right thing to do to protect Wyoming people for their reasoning for wanting to have legislation that affects Wyoming and not influenced by out-of-country individuals financially.
Representative
Thank you.
Angelos?
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. Representative, can you refresh my memory of how many other states have passed this legislation?
Representative Weber?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Thank you, Representative Angelos. That was, sure, it was California, Colorado, Maryland, or it was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8.
8 states.
Yes, 8 states.
Any further questions for the bringer? Representative Harrelson?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So of those 8 states, are they just looking at ballot initiatives as well, or is it ballot initiatives as well as elections?
Representative Weber?
Thank you, Chairman Bear and Representative Harrelson. Ballot initiatives, and it's 9 states. Sorry.
And I'm going to add a comment here. I would say you'd want to be cautious going into individual elections because we allow family members a certain latitude in donating to our campaigns, and it could easily be that a foreign national is a family member. So I think the bringer's probably doing a good job of targeting something that we can certainly get under control without creating some unforeseen consequences. Any further questions for the bringer? Representative Sherwood?
Thank you. Sort of within this, like, how far should it go? How targeted should it be? What is the consideration of then also excluding money from other states? So say there's somebody in the Sunshine State that, disagrees with the Wyoming value and then tries to fund a ballot initiative to apply their values to our values. Should we also be limiting that?
Representative Weber?
Thank you, Chairman Bear, and thank you, Representative Sherwood, for the question. This bill only discusses the foreign funding of ballot measures.
Follow up? All right, any further questions for the bringer? With that, we'll open up public comment. Would the agency care to opine? Mr. Naaman, since you're here, we'll let the deputy go ahead and opine on this.
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman. Jesse Naaman, Deputy Secretary of State. I believe Mr. Rubino, our Chief Policy Officer and General Counsel, is online. If it's okay with the committee, he's the one who's prepared to go and delve into the weeds on this.
Okay. Ms. Childers, can we bring Mr. Rubino online, please?
Mr. Chairman, can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Welcome again to House Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Well, I appreciate the discussion that is being had right now. And again, I apologize that I cannot be there in person. I'll try and keep it very brief. I know that Representative Weber, she's done a great job of doing a walkthrough of the bill. As you know, the Secretary of State has taken a very strong stance against both foreign funding of ballot measures. That was one of his key election integrity priorities that he announced earlier this year, as well as the prohibition of private funds for conducting elections. And I really do appreciate the question from Representative Sherwood on that piece. I do think that there are some, although I'm not an expert in federal campaign finance law, I do believe that there are federal restrictions on foreign nationals and foreign adversaries contributing to elections. But I do think that's a completely different subject matter for a bill. I think what you've seen with foreign actors is that they are getting involved in the initiative process in a different way of sort of circumventing some of those things. And I think that as Representative Weber already noted, prohibiting foreign nationals from influencing the initiative process, it's a growing concern around the country. And I think we've all been deeply disturbed by the influence of foreign actors in the constitutional initiative process in Ohio, which I think garnered nationwide attention. And it's really what triggered sort of a recent wave of safeguards that have been proposed in state legislatures across the country. Just speaking a little bit to, again, the interplay with prohibiting private funds for conducting elections, I think that that's a policy decision for the legislature, but I think that, and I know that the secretary believes that the arguments that this sort of never happens in Wyoming, well, what we've seen with issues like the prohibiting private funds for conducting elections is that when you don't take proactive measures, states like Wyoming, being very few who have taken proactive measures of sort of conservative states, they do become targets, or there at least is a chance for them to become targets. So the secretary, just to conclude, Mr. Chairman, he's in strong support of enacting any measures that prohibit foreign actors from influencing the initiative process. And he's in complete support of requiring that groups that are organized to support or oppose legislation that's the subject of ballot initiative processes are providing transparency and disclosure that they have not been funded by foreign nationals. So again, Secretary is very supportive of this bill. We appreciate Representative Weber for thinking about this important issue and trying to take proactive measures. And we believe that this is a great step in the right direction. Thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you, Mr. Rubino. Is there any other comment or public comment from the room? Seeing none, Ms. Childers, would you please bring in Mr. Sneed?
Mr. Chairman, there are no other people on Zoom.
Oh, we've done a good job of scaring them off, I suppose. All right. Seeing no further public comment, we'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure? Move, do pass. I didn't see who did that. Representative Haroldson moved, seconded by Angelos. We'll work the bill. Page 1. Page 2. Page 3. Page 4. Any comments on the bill? Discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Ms. Childers, will you please take the roll?
Roll call vote, House Bill 337 do pass. Representative Alaman? Aye. Representative Angelos? Aye. Representative Haroldson?
Aye.
Representative Pendergraft?
Aye.
Representative Sherwood?
Aye.
Representative Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 7 aye.
All right, House Bill 337 do pass, and Representative Weber will have you manage that on the floor if you don't mind. Congratulations, thank you. Representative Filer, I'm going to have you go ahead and come forward and present your bill. I have to give you a caveat here. We are instructed to prioritize re-referrals, and the last 10 minutes will be reserved for House Bill 106. So if we don't complete by that time, just so you're aware, time will be out because this is the last day, the last meeting. So we'll try to keep everything brief and get through your bill. But if we get to the 10-minute mark, we're going to switch over to that other bill, just so you have a heads up.
Oh, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
Yeah. Thank you for being here. Welcome to House Appropriations, and please present your bill.
Yes, Mr. Chairman, Lee Filer. Guys, I am presenting you the easiest building permit bill I have brought this session. All this is it's pretty simple. If you go and you pull a building permit and you're already building, say, your house out in the county area, and then the city comes in and annexes while you're in the middle of your build. Well, now it becomes under the jurisdiction of the city. So most times cities and counties have MOUs that say, no, county, you see it all the way through. When you're all done, city takes over. Well, there's nothing in statute that actually specifies that. So we're just leaning on an MOU. So all this bill does is say, okay, you pulled your building permit, finish your project all the way through, you're all done, you're annexed into the city. Any other projects you do, you go through the city. That's all this does, Mr. Chairman, and I'll stand for any questions.
Was that your vote already, Representative Sherwood? Like I said, I love this committee. Representative Filer, I appreciate your very targeted approach, and you will be known as the expert on permitting. So Appreciate that focus as well. Any questions for the bringer of the bill? Seeing none, stick around. Is there anybody in the public here that would like to opine on this? Please come forward. Welcome to House Appropriations.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee. My name is Kelly Little. I represent the Associated General Contractors of Wyoming. AGC is in support of this bill. We think it's great to reduce regulation that could be duplicative. And also, we just support consistency, uniform regulation, and pro-business practices that encourage economic development. And with that, I'll stand for questions.
All right, thank you, Ms. Little, for being here. Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I do have one quick question. Have we found the white dump trucks?
You're not going to let that go, are you? Excuse me, Mr. Chairman. We will definitely be looking for white dump trucks for our dinner next year. Thank you.
All right, anything more pertinent than that? Thank you for being here, Ms. Little. We appreciate your input. All right, seeing no further public comment, we'll close public comment. Committee, what's your pleasure? Move the bill do pass by Sherwood, seconded by Haroldson. All right, we'll work the bill, starting with page 1. Page 2. Any comments or discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Ms. Childers, will you please take the roll?
Roll call vote, House Bill 140 do pass. Representative Alaman?
Excused.
Representative Angelos? Aye. Representative Haroldson?
Aye.
Representative Pendergraft?
Aye.
Representative Sherwood?
Aye.
Representative Smith?
Aye.
Chairman Bear?
We want to go back to Representative Alaman before I close it out.
Sure. Representative Alaman?
Aye.
Chairman Bear?
Aye.
Mr. Chairman, 7 aye.
Thank you. That bill do pass, and Representative Filer, will you please manage that on the floor? Congratulations. Okay, I had promised the bringer of House Bill 106, the final 10 minutes. I know that the vice chair has been trying to get a hold of him for the last hour. So, committee, do you want us to go forward with it and work it ourselves? I'm asking your opinions. Move on. Okay, we'll work this bill. Hopefully the bringer of the bill will be here before we complete the work. Let's see. Representative Sherwood, you're on this bill. Would you care to walk us through the bill? Do your best, please. We won't hold you too accountable.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I think this bill comes from one of those optimistic places from us who love history and culture and are jealous when other states have amenities that attract tourist dollars away from Wyoming. So in that spirit of optimism, this bill creates a oversight task force, and with the committee amendment that was made, it requires that a list of suggested locales be presented. So it's not picking a location any longer, which I think is a great cleanup. The oversight task force will think about, in relation to the 250th year of the signing of the Declaration of Independence, yay, big party for all of us, what this monument should look like. The language on line 2, pages 11 and 12 was struck. Again, another good committee amendment that's coming before us, so it no longer references Mount Rushmore, which I know is concerning to some of our constituents in terms of the scale and how much we love our mountains as is. So I do support that amendment. The idea is to locate the monument on school trust lands as an investment strategy for our schools. And there is a openness to include legislators on the task force. I'm now just randomly reading off the top here. And there's an invitation for any past Senate president or past House Speaker to sit on the task force. The other amendment that was brought out of committee was capping this at 20, which maybe is still too many on an oversight committee, so I'd open to that change. And then there is funding in the bill, as there would be for any kind of special task force, to the Legislative Service Office and the Governor's Office to cover per diem and travel expenses for the committee. And somewhere in here, there's a when the committee has to report. The bill would be effective immediately, and the task force would end June 30th, 2027. How'd I do?
You did excellent, excellent work. We probably should allow the bringer of the bill to make the final call on how well you did.
Speaking of final call, I tried.
Okay, no worries, no worries. We'll try to drag it out a little bit, just in case, but there at one time I thought was in this bill, some restrictions on who the monument could be.
Lines.
Line 7 through 17.
Yeah, yes. Feature important historic American figures as recommended by the task force, and then to include Native American leaders in their consideration. The historic figures proposed for the monument shall include important figures from the 18th, 19th, and 20th centuries.
Okay, I know. Go ahead, Representative Harrelson.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. So just basically, just to get an idea, we're no longer going to carve the side of a mountain up, but are we looking at building a statue? I mean, if we're not going to carve rock, I guess I'm a little confused. If we eliminated a rock carving, what are our options moving forward as far as structure that we would look at modifying for this purpose?
Thank you for that question, and I'm gonna shoot from the hip and imagine that this now could include fabricated monument, right? So I won't limit it to just like obelisk or like the Bean in Chicago. But I guess that would be up to the task force to decide whether or not this was something that was man-made, by an artist or in a studio and then installed on a suggested site, or whether or not we then would be considering rings in the grasslands and shapes from our combines. I don't know. I am totally shooting from the hip here because the answer is I don't know. I think it just allows the task force to be more open beyond just carving into a mountain.
Representative Alman.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Sherwood, can this be a Wyoming historical figure? What it says in here is an American. I would much rather see it was Wyoming. Thank you.
Representative Sherwood.
So yes, Wyomingites are Americans. So yes, Wyomingites can be considered.
Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. In the interest of discussion, I guess I remember when I first heard they were going to remake True Grit. And I thought, why? And so my question here is kind of that. What are we trying to achieve that hasn't already been done? We have a Rushmore. We have not far from there the Crazy Horse Monument, which is, you're not going to build anything bigger and grander than that. What are we trying to accomplish?
Representative Sherwood.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to say, because we can do it better.
I'm going to jump in here and say, I like the idea of using explosives, so. Yeah. It's an opportunity, is what I would say. Representative Smith.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Do you know if the bringer of the bill has looked into even modern history and the private sector wanting to do something here in Wyoming, like a Mount Trump More and get the Trump organization to bring something in? So.
He's going down my line, thank you. Representative Sherwood.
Mr. Chairman,
please opine on Mount Trump.
I cannot opine to the bringer of the bill's intent in that regard. And I should say, for those who are watching at home, it is Friday. We are sleep deprived. We are trying to have a little a sense of humor here as we wait for the bringer of the bill to show up. But I do think that I'm starting to slide off the mountain.
Slide off the mountain. Great comment. Representative Pendergraft.
Another question, in the discussion about, topics or pictures for this, did great high school football coaches ever come up?
Representative Sherwood.
No, I'm sorry that we did not include that specifically.
Representative Angelos, please.
Thank you,
We
Mr.
wouldn't want
Chairman.
anyone excluded from this conversation.
Representative Sherwood, were there figures that were discussed? Were there just some options that were thrown around?
Representative Sherwood.
No, Mr. Chairman and committee, there were no specific individuals thrown out because we hope that the task force will really do that work. And I could say from somebody who's helped with RFPs and sort of requests for qualifications in the community, you leave a little bit of the calling open and vague so that you get a creative response back. So we didn't want to be heavy-handed in our listing out of Wyomingites or coaches or folks that we thought would be on this great monument.
Representative Sherwood, I think that openness to creativity applies to this committee. We're very creative here. Yeah. Yes, we're running out of things to say while we wait on, we have 30 minutes to keep this up.
Mr. Chairman, I would move to suspend until the arrival of Chairman Arshman.
Okay, the motion's been made to suspend. Do I have a second? For 30 minutes? Go ahead, Representative Sherwood. I'll allow some debate on this, discussion on it. You're seconding it? Okay. Motion is to suspend for 30 minutes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed, no? Okay, so we're going to suspend for 30 minutes. You can
Okay.
actually leave your chairs for 30 minutes, but anybody who's late will be flogged. I have an amendment that we have to do in the last 10 minutes. Hopefully the bringer will be here by that time. What's that? All right. Here we go. We're coming back together, and Ms. Childress, are we online? Okay, we're back online. We're coming back to order. Representative Harshman, if you would like to please walk us through your bill as quickly as possible. We're down to just 25 minutes before we have to be back on the floor. But welcome to House Appropriations. We appreciate you being here.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman, members of the committee, appreciate your referral, look at this appropriation. Okay. 100 years ago, South Dakota legislature passed a bill in 1925, 100 years ago, giving the state historian the ability and funding him to go out and find a spot, because this Mr. Robinson was a state historian. He'd been talking about this idea, and he had thoughts of like Lewis and Clark and Sacagawea and westward expansion. And I think, this monument to the Confederacy had just been carved down in Georgia. And so all these things. And so his idea was to bring more tourism to the Black Hills. And, you just started getting this, people were discovering the caves and all the wonders of the Black Hills. So they passed a bill 100 years ago. He goes out, looks at several spots, the Needles, others, and they come upon this rock, which is named after I think somebody from New York, a land surveyor or something, Rushmore. And so then the rest is history. United States Senator kind of took this on and passed legislation, and I think it began in 27, took them till about 1939 to finish those 4 phases. Actually, I've had this idea for a long time. I just haven't really filed a bill. I've had it drafted, but the idea was, 100 years later now, back then it was celebrated 150 years of American history. Now, it'd be 250 years of American history. And so then to think about the idea of, our number 2 industry and bringing visitors to our great state, Mount Rushmore's 2.5 million visitors, over $500 million in economic impact. I mean, it's really incredible. And we've got this whole thing and with Yellowstone and the beauty of this place. And we have so much history. First government in the world to grant women suffrage. I mean, it's just incredible. And I think, so I've had a lot of artists actually contact me, sculptors who said, geez, and nobody really they haven't done any of this type of stuff. But one said, well, geez, maybe we do 250 sculptures, one for each year in a 12-foot sculpture. There's been all these kind of ideas flashed by. Representative Wharf said, geez, what if we did one for each state, and spread it around the state? So I think there's a lot of ideas on this and how we honor our great history and heritage and those people that helped shape it, and then promote tourism. And so with that, Mr. Chairman, sets up a group of governors, present, former speakers, present, former presidents, and then tribal liaisons appointed by the governor. On the second page of the bill, we've amended it in committee where on line 11 through 12, that right after Monument to America on line 11, we took out the scope and size of Mount Rushmore. So then that's all deleted 11. First part of 12, so a monument to America shall feature important historical figures. I put the 17th, 18th, and 18th, 19th, 20th century. Really was to, I think if you're a historical figure in this century, I think you need a little more time for history to look at you. I just have always believed that. I mean, I think many folks weren't looked upon very good in the present time, and then over time it changed and those kind of things. So I think that's that reason on there. And then, Mr. Chairman, state parks came and tourism department, they were all excited about product development and and then the idea is to, if we can, locate this on a state school section to generate tremendous amount of revenue potentially. Maybe there's a part on the Indian or tribal lands that changes the whole thing. I don't know, but I think getting people together who had a long history in this state. I think at the living governors, incredible, a couple hundred years of American Wyoming history. So that's it. And then, so the appropriation, Mr. Chairman, on the backside there, the $40,000 is appropriate for non-legislative members, and then also for legislative members who are current. I think it's plenty of money. You could probably cut that in half, I think. That's kind of a standard drafting thing, and probably do that for half of that, literally, I think. But, so that's the bill and the appropriation, so thank you for hearing it.
All right, thank you, Representative Harshman. Any questions for the bringer? We had lots of questions earlier, and I will tell you that Rep. Sherwood stood in for you and did an excellent job dancing on her feet to try to answer questions that she may not have actually known the answer to. But Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and thank you for being here. It's an interesting idea. But I guess I would like a bit more focus on what that idea, what might be perhaps in your mind. What did you have in mind as you were envisioning this that frankly hasn't already been done?
Representative Harshman, sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative Pendergraft, I think my first thought just about our Wyoming history, I think women's suffrage is a huge deal. We're the first in the world, and I don't think that story gets told enough. I just think that's really important. I think westward expansion piece is pretty amazing too, and the leaders that have been in this state, and then I think probably there's some presidents too. But that's just my little brain. I think when you get people together and you kind of have that group genius, working, and people have different ideas bouncing, and it generates, it's kind of like our legislative process. You come to a better idea, but that was kind of my initial thoughts.
Okay. Further questions for the bringer? All right, seeing none, we'll close public comment. Thank you, Representative Harshman. Committee, what's your pleasure? Move bill do pass.
I'm going to second.
Seconded by Angelos. Okay. We'll work the bill first of all. Page 1. Page 2. Representative Pendergraft.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 2, line 17. I would move to amend as follows. After the word 19th, place a comma, strike the word and, strike the semicolon after centuries, and add the language and 21st century period.
Chairman.
Representative
I
Harshman.
hate to interrupt, but I think as a re-referral, that would be a great committee, the whole amendment by Representative Pendergraft, but that is outside the bounds of this committee, respectfully. You guys are dealing with the last page.
Representative Sherwood.
I believe we can only amend the fiscal note.
The appropriation, yeah.
Noted. So, okay. Representative Angelos.
Can I make a motion, Mr. Chairman?
Yes. Still on page 2. Go ahead, Representative.
No, I'm at the end.
All right.
Since we
We'll
cannot, we
give us
can
just a
only
moment.
amend the fiscal. I'm going to make it a,
Just one moment, we'll get there in a moment.
Okay.
Page 3. Page 4. Page 5. Representative Angelos?
yes, I'm going to go page 4.
Page 4.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Page 4, line 13, I'd like to amend the 40,000 to 20,000.
Okay. You've heard the motion. Is there a second? Second by Pendergraft. Any discussion on the motion? Seeing none, all those in favor of Representative Angelos' motion, say aye. Aye. All those opposed, no. That carries. Representative Angelos.
Mr. Chairman, I think I missed page 4, line 2.
Okay.
So let's make sure that is, just
All
make
right.
sure we have cohesive language
Conforming
throughout.
language, will include that in the previously passed amendment. Any objection to changing that amendment to be line 2 and line 13. Seeing no objection, so noted. Ms. Childress, you catch all that? Okay. All right. Page 5. Any discussion on the bill? Representative Angelos.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Representative, I'm just going to say, I'm probably not going to be a yes on the floor, but I'm going to be a yes here because I think it should go to the floor for a debate. I think you're kind of a visionary. I'd like to see what the body has to say about it. So I'll be an aye on this. Probably not on the floor, but I'll be an aye here.
Okay. Further discussion on the bill, Representative Angelos.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. My biggest drawback on this whole thing is a couple years ago, I voted for a $10,000 task force, and now it's $20,000, and we don't know where it's going to end. And that's probably why I'm going to be a no on it, because I'm just probably going to be a no. Thank you.
Okay. Any further discussion on the bill? Seeing none, Ms. Childress, will you please take the roll?
Roll call vote, House Bill 106 do pass with amendments. Representative Allemand? No. Representative Angelos? Aye. Representative Harrelson?
No.
Representative Pendergraft?
No.
Representative Sherwood?
Aye.
Representative Smith?
No.
Chairman Bear?
No.
Mr. Chairman, 2 aye, 5 no.
Okay, so this will go with a recommend pass from the originating committee, which was TRW, okay? And then a recommend do pass fail from this committee. All right. Thank you, and Representative Hirschman, I assume you'll be managing that on the floor? All right. Thank you. Congratulations. We are adjourned. Great work.